What up, young lions? Welcome all are welcome to another episode of GridIron Gains, the show from an athlete for athletes, where we give you everything you need to financially succeed. I am your host, Tony Hills, national champion, Super Bowl champion, and your financial strategist for athletes. And listen, this message is for all my college athletes out there snagging those NIL deals. You're getting paid now, but are you set up for later? Everybody's running, but few know where they're running to. So, with that being said, we're here to make sure you know exactly where you're running financially, that is. Listen, guys, at the end of the day, I want you to win. I want you to win on the field, and I want you to win off the field. So today, we're breaking down how to turn those payout checks into long-term portfolios, right? So I need you guys to listen up, and let's get to work on securing your financial future. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about, we got to talk about the truth about these NIL checks, all right? So that's the first thing that's up. Now, listen, at the end of the day, getting that NIL check feels like winning a lottery, man, right? Suddenly your bank account has more zeros than ever before, right? But here's the truth. If you're not careful, those zeros can disappear fast. That big check isn't all gravy because Uncle Sam is waiting for his cut. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you owe taxes on NIL money. It is 1099. So that means you have to pay those taxes. But if you have an agent or a team, they're getting a piece of that too, right? So a $100,000 deal can easily shrink to maybe like $60,000 real quick after taxes and fees. So, no, it's not endless free cash. It's income that needs a game plan. And I need us to understand we have to treat every NIL dollar like it's temporary because it just might be, right? NIL deals can change or dry up if your performance drops or a new star comes along. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, what's hot this season might not be hot the next season. And the truth is, you can't assume those checks will keep coming forever at the same rate, right? And I've seen it, guys. For all of you that don't know, I've played 10 years in the league. I've seen this in the pros. Guys sign these multi-million-dollar contracts, and a few years later, what happens? It's gone. The question becomes why? How do you spend all of that money? It's easy because they thought the money train would never stop, right? Don't fall into that trap now, especially while you're still in college. And here's another truth. Everyone around you sees that you've gotten paid, right? You might start hearing from long-lost cousins and new best friends who want a piece of that pie, right? So you got to keep your guard up, right? This money is for your future, not for funding everybody's weekend party, right? And when that first big check hits, I need you to take a deep breath, man. Don't run straight to the dealership for a new car or blow it on that swag, all right? It's okay to celebrate a little bit. At the end of the day, listen, you've earned it. But the real flex is making that money work for you long term. I need you to remember, cash can fly out of your pocket as fast as it flew in, guys, if you let it. Now, the truth about the NIL checks is they can be life-changing or just a fleeting flash. It's up to you. It's up to you to understand which one it was going to be. So let's make this pact now, right? That you won't let that money just burn holes in your pockets. You're going to put it to work. Now, the question might be, well, Tycoon, how do we do that? Well, I'm glad you asked. I want to introduce everybody that may or may not have heard about the 50-30-20 rule, all right? This is one of the things that we teach our athletes at Stat Financial. It's a simple playbook, right? It's the money playbook. This is a basic rule that many successful people use to budget, and it works for athletes too. So I'm going to give you guys the breakdown. Here's what it is, right? 50% are your needs, all right? That's essential stuff only. I want you to think your rent, your food, utilities, training, expenses, tuition if you got things like that you got to cover to live on, right? That's what you're doing. 30% is your wants, all right? So, yeah, you get to have some fun, man. Listen, go get your new kicks, have that dinner, get the latest PlayStation or take that trip with your friends, but cap it at 30% of your income. You got to keep your splurges reasonable. And then lastly, the 20% is for savings and investments. Now, this is the golden piece. At least 20% of every check goes towards your future. Savings accounts, investments, or anything that builds your portfolio, right? So we'll talk ideas like alternative investments and insurance soon, right? But we have to break it down for every dollar you get. So let's do an example. Say you pulled in $1,000 this month from an NIL deal, right? So 500 needs to go to needs, 300 goes to wants, 200 straight into your savings or investments. So now following the 50-30-20, you got to make sure that you cover the basics, right? Enjoy life a little bit, and pay your future self with every payout. It's like, think of it like a diet for your dollars. You got to have a healthy balance. It can't be too strict. Because at the end of the day, you got to be able to enjoy your money, but not so loose that you blow it all, okay? And if you, are living at home or you're on scholarship or however it's working out for you, where some needs are covered, then just adjust the numbers. But the key is that this is a principle that you can always carve out that chunk for your future, right? It's going to take discipline. That's the name of the game, ladies and gentlemen. It's just like training. At the end of the day, consistency wins. A one-time budget is not enough, right? You have to do this with every check that you get. And you're going to see your friends going out. They're going to be buying everything, new gadgets and going out every night. And you might feel like you're missing out by sticking to a plan. But remember, you have bigger goals. You're built different. If you want a different life, you have to do different things. And this is how you start. You start thinking like a professional with your money, even while you're still in college, because ladies and gentlemen, you are professionals. And the 50-30-20 rule is your baseline. So if you master this, then you're already ahead of most of your peers who are just winging it. Now, 20% to savings is good, but what if we would what would happen if we take it up a notch? Let's talk about going beyond the basics. All right? Let's talk about aggressive saving. So now that you've got a baseline, I want us to talk a little offense a little bit. Maybe you're thinking, 20% in a savings tycoon, I can do more. And I love that thought process. And you're absolutely right. You can. If you want to truly secure the bag for the long haul, consider saving even more of your income. Why? Because your earning window as an athlete can be short, guys. You might be ranking it in at 19 or 20. But what about 25 if you're not going pro? Or what about 30 when the glory days are over? The more you stack away now, the more cushion you have for later. I'll say that again. The more you put away now, the more cushion you have for later. So what if you flip the script and you said, okay, I'm going to live on the 50%. I'm going to save the 30% or even more instead of spending it, right? Now, I know that sounds tough. I get it. I know, man. But look, champions do what others won't so that they can live like others can't. So saving aggressively is like those extra workouts nobody sees. It's not flashy, but it does set you apart. Think of every dollar saved as a player on your team. The more dollars you draft into your team's future, the stronger your financial squad gets. That's just the reality. And then those dollars start training on their own through interest and through investments, and they'll grow bigger over time without you having to sweat. So I want you to picture this, right? Picture this. Rock with me right quick. If you invest a portion of your money wisely, by the time you hang up your jersey, you could have a whole second bankroll waiting for you, man. Right? It's like you're going to have to say no to things, right? It might be saying no to some impulse buys for now. It might mean your apartment is nice, but it's not the penthouse, right? You're not downtown, right? Your car is reliable, but it's not a luxury ride. But those are small sacrifices that lead to big victories. At the end of the day, everybody wants the glory, but not everyone wants the grind. That's true in sports, and it's also true in money. You got to be willing to grind financially. You have to understand that you need to live below your means now so you can live way above your means later. You know how coaches say championships are won in the offseason, right? Well, look, that's the same thing. Financial freedom is won in your youth. And by saving early and investing often, every dollar you save in your 20s is worth more. It's 10x when you're in your 30s and your 40s. Thanks to, growth, thanks to compound interest and future investments, things of that nature. Your future self is going to high five you for the extra buck you saved today. Trust me on that, ladies and gentlemen. I can promise you, right? Because I've done it. So I want you to challenge yourself. Can you save 25% of your NIL money? 30%? Maybe even 40% if you're crushing it. It's not about the number itself. It's about the mindset of paying yourself first and being serious about your goals. See, when others are buying 2 pairs of the latest Jordans and they buy 1 pair and invest, you'll buy 1 pair and invest in the rest. When they're popping bottles, you're stacking dollars. And look, you're going to get made fun of. They might call you cheap. They might say you're no fun now, but who's going to have the last laugh when that financial freedom bell rings? If you want to have the life that few have later, you've got to do what few are doing now. And guess what? Very few college athletes are saving aggressively. So right now, this is your edge. This is your competitive advantage off the field. You got to keep stacking, keep saving, and keep that hungry mindset. Now, saving cash is great, but where are you going to put it? Right? You ain't going to be able to put it under the mattress. That ain't going to cut it. So let's talk about a smart place to grow and protect your money. Now, for those that may or may not know, I'm a big proponent of insurance, not because of the death benefit or anything like that, but this is a fundamental weapon. It's a secret weapon, right? The cash value life insurance. Now, I want you to stick with me because this isn't like just your boring insurance, talk you over your head and you glaze your eyes over, right? This is about being able to leverage this tool to play both offense and defense with your money, right? Cash value life insurance, like certain whole life or index universal life policies, basically. This is life insurance that builds you a pot of money that you can use while you're alive, ladies and gentlemen. It's called life insurance, not death insurance. So I want you to think of it as a financial Swiss Army knife, right? It's going to provide for you. It's going to provide for your loved ones. If something ever happens to you, it's going to provide for them in that regard as well. And it's going to build up cash that you can tap into later. So here's how it works in the most simplistic terms, right? You're going to pay into a policy. Part of that money goes into savings and investments on the account inside of it. That's the cash value. That cash value is going to grow over time. Listen to me, tax deferred. It's your money. You can borrow against it for big moves like buying a house or starting a business or even funding more investments down the line. Meanwhile, you've got life insurance coverage in case the worst happens. That's the defense, protecting not only you, but protecting your family or whoever depends on you. But the offense is that growing cash value. Okay, so it's like a slow, steady runner that keeps gaining yards every year, right? Even when the market is going nuts, everybody's talking about stocks and crypto and real estate, but few young people talk about life insurance as a wealth tool. Yet, I want to let you guys in on something. A lot of wealthy folks and savvy athletes quietly use this. Why? Because it's stable, it's protected, and it forces you to save consistently, right? So imagine by the time you're 30, you have a policy that's built, say, $50,000 or $100,000 in the cash value. That's money that you can use. And unlike a 401k, which a lot of people steer towards, or an IRA, you don't have to wait until you're 60 to access it, right? Now, this is not a get-rich-quick thing. It's a stay-rich strategy thing, right? So it's not going to give you the flashy stock market returns in a single year, but it also won't disappear when there's an economic downturn or what is others know as a market crash, right? So it's steady growth, like a veteran player doing the fundamentals right every single play. And here's the thing. You can borrow from that cash value for opportunities or even emergencies, and if structured right, pay it back on your own terms. So this is the whole Nelson Nash theory about being your own bank. It's basically you're becoming your own bank. But instead of begging the bank for a loan, you've got a pot that you can pull from while your policy keeps growing as if you hadn't touched a dime. I want you guys to look up compound interest. I'm telling you, man, this thing is amazing, right? This is the game changer that a lot of wealthy people won't tell you about, but this is what they're using. So I want y'all to know this is not me telling y'all to dump all your money into insurance. I'm not saying that. But it's a smart piece of a balanced financial game plan, especially for protecting what you've built and what you're building. Plus, as an athlete, you got to think about insuring not just your life, but your income. That's the other part that this does, right? So there's even insurance policies that can protect you if injury, cuts your career short, right? Most people will know that as disability insurance. That's another convo for another day, but that's important to note. So write that down, right? Or if you can't play anymore for whatever reason, but the cash value in itself is the security and the strategy. It's making sure that no matter what happens on your journey, you're building an asset that can take care of you and your family and your family's future. Now, your people might not even know about this, right? So you're going to be ahead of the game. You're going to be playing chess while they're playing checkers, right? And this is one of those things where if you want to do what the few do, you might consider it, right? Just basically blend this into your overall strategy plan. And speaking of plan, let's pull all of these pieces together into a real game plan that you can follow, right? So I want to talk to you guys about game planning economically. So let's map that out. Let's map out the game plan and turn those payouts into portfolios. Because we've talked about different ideas, but I want to organize them into the steps you can act on. All right? So first, you have to acknowledge the truth about your money. Write down how much you're actually pocketing after taxes and expenses. Set clear goals, short term, this year, midterm, the next 5 years, long term, life after sports. You can't score without aiming at a target, ladies and gentlemen. Now, you're going to budget with the 50-30-20 rule, or you can use the 50-30-20 rule, right? 50-20-30, 50-30-20, whichever one you want. You're going to adjust that version just based off of how aggressive you want to be on the saving side. And every time you get an NIL check and that check comes in, allocate it. Needs, wants, savings. Every single time. You got to make this a habit. It got to be automatic. You got to put your pads on before the game. All right? The next thing you have to do is you got to save. I want to challenge you guys to save aggressively. So go beyond the 20%. Treat saving like a non-negotiable bill. You pay to yourself every single time. The first bill you pay each month, and that's your future fund, and you come first. So if you can push it to 25 or 30% or more, do it. Because I want you to remember, this is your championship training for financial freedom. All right? The next thing is you want to invest and grow. So don't just leave money set aside, right? Put that money to work. This could mean investing in index funds or Roth IRAs. We talked about insurance. If you have earned income or even buying a rental property down the line, we should be thinking about those type of things. Start learning the basics about investments. And then you let your money score some points too, right? So you can even start small, even, $50 a month in an index fund account. Or you can, leverage smart insurance plays, like considering a cash value life insurance policy as part of your plan, especially as your savings grow. So what that's going to be is a protective layer in it's going to be a stealthy wealth builder, right? And so you could talk to a wealth strategist about that or insurance agent about that. Somebody that you trust about whether this makes sense for you, okay? It's like drafting a star player for defense that can also play offense. Travis Hunter. This is your Travis Hunter, right? The next thing you want to do is you got to build your team, right? Coaches, trainers, all of those things you know about. Why don't you have that for your money? You need to find mentors and advisors who understand the athlete life. This could be a financial planner, a savvy professor, a former player who did it right. It's your man right here. Or even your parents if they're money smart, right? Don't try to figure everything out by yourself. Don't try to do that. Get a huddle for your finances. The next thing you got to do, man, you got to stay humble. You got to stay hungry. It's a mindset. Stay humble about what you have. If you can go away, if you slip up, stay hungry. It's okay. Continue to go after it. Continue to work. You're going to have to learn this stuff, right? But with the rule changes, these opportunities are going to come and go, all right? You got to keep adjusting. You got to keep adjusting your game plan, all right? So that's your playbook, folks. It might seem like a lot, but look, just like learning a new offense, you can break this down play by play, ladies and gentlemen. Take it one step at a time. Execute consistently. And over time, you're going to see the results. The goal is that by the time you graduate or go pro, and I'm hoping you all do, or whatever your athletic career wraps up to, you've built a strong and solid financial foundation that is unshakable. So when your sports chapter ends, and it all will, everybody's sports chapter will end, you're not thinking what now with panic, you're thinking what's next with confidence. This game plan is going to turn your NIL money into something that lasts, something that gives you options and freedom down the line. You got to keep this game. You got to keep this plan. And I want you to keep it somewhere visible. Heck, stick it on your mirror, put it in your locker, put it on your phone. Just like you keep a list of goals for training, I want you to keep this list. Watch the video again, because I know I've talked about a lot, but this is what you need to do. This is why you need to understand why it matters, because I can give you guys some real stories and outcomes, right? We can get real about it. I can show you what happens in the real world, victories and failures. Like at the end of the day in the NFL, you've heard these stats. 78% of NFL players go broke under financial stress within a couple of years of retirement. I think it's about 60%, right? But it's a big chunk of NBA players too, right? That's a fact. That's not a myth. And if it can happen to the pros who made millions of dollars, millions, it can happen to any of us if we're not smart. Guys, I know guys who made more in one season than most people make in a lifetime. Let that sink in. And a few years later after the game, they had nothing to show for it. I can remember a young player that got a hefty signing bonus. He was drafted above me, you know, talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was the first thing he did. Went and bought a luxury car. Then he got another one for his mom. Threw this huge party, decked himself out in all these jewelry, right? And for a few months, he was, quote unquote, living the life, right? Then the next season, he got injured. That income stopped cold. Boom, cold turkey, right? Them checks got cut in half. And by the year's end, he was selling those cars and worrying about the bills. This is a story that happens all too often. But there's a contrast to that. Because I had another teammate of mine, I don't want to call him out. Let's just say he was a tight end, right? Solid player, right? But he never acted like a big shot even when he got his contract. And it was a nice contract. He drove the same car that he drove in college. He rocked team issue gear instead of buying Gucci everything. And he invested his money with every paycheck that he got. Showed me how to do it, to be honest, right? Now, they used to joke with him and, you know, call him old man for being, you know, frugal and always wanting to save his money. But guess what? At the end of the day, he's not struggling. At the end of the day, he's the one that has the last laugh. And bought a few rental properties. Now he's bringing in income. Got a nice portfolio, nice savings. So when he retired, he moved into the next phase of life without any type of financial stress. Got into coaching. Not because he needs the money, but because he loves the game. He's doing what he loves without having to worry about finances. And that is my goal for you, right? He allowed his money to work for him. You got college stars who got NIL deals when it first opened up. Some of these guys went out and blew that money fast. It's all gone. Nothing but Instagram photos and flexing for 1 minute. Others are being smart about it. They're using that money to pay for extra training or hire nutritionists, taking care of their body, investing in themselves. Some of them are even starting small businesses while they're still in school. Same opportunity Two completely different outcomes because there's two different thought processes. One is a cautionary tale, the other is one of inspiration. So the question is, which story do you want to be? The one who had it and lost it, or the one who multiplied? That's real talk. And at the end of the day, it can happen to anybody. No one is immune to going broke if they mismanage the money. Money don't care about your color, your creed, your religion. If you don't handle it, it's going to handle you. But the good news is no one is destined to go broke either. It's all about decisions and habits. You learn from those who came before you, the good and the bad. The good book says that things were written aforetime were written for our learning. That way you don't have to repeat the mistakes. You can repeat the successes instead. You can use their stories as motivation, and you can fuel that fire. You can literally say, I will not be another statistic. I will be the exception. Let that be your calling card. Because in the end, it's not just about avoiding bankruptcy. It's about creating a life of financial freedom and a life of purpose and impact. When you turn your payouts into portfolios, you're not just securing your life, you're setting up generational wealth. You're creating opportunities not just for yourself, but for your family and your future family if you decide to have one. Your community, funding charities if you like, starting businesses someday. Ladies and gentlemen, that's legacy. That's bigger than just you. And it's definitely bigger than the temporary high of blowing cash on stuff that does not last. So please, please, please hold on to these stories in your heart and in your mind whenever you're tempted to stray from this plan. The plan that you're going to set up. Remember the why. Simon Sinek wrote a great book called Start With Why. Remember the why. Why are you doing this? Remember what's at stake and what's possible. So you already know how I do, my friends. I got a call to action. So you know the plays. It's time to execute the knowledge, right? Knowledge is great, but action is what wins games. And at the end of the day, it is crunch time, especially if you only got a couple more years left. You're a sophomore, you're a junior. It's crunch time. What are you going to do with that next NIL check? Are you going to let it burn a hole in your pocket? Or are you going to make it work for you? Here's my challenge. Your man talking a lot. I got to get some water in me. But here's my challenge. Do one thing today, to secure your future. Maybe it's sitting down and making that first budget. Maybe it's calling, a mentor or a wealth strategist and asking for guidance. It could be as simple as opening a high yield savings account and transferring 20% of your last check into it right now, right? If you haven't already shared these plans with your family or someone that you trust, get some accountability. Get a teammate that thinks like you think and say, hey, man, look, I'm going on this savings journey. I'm saving 30% of my NIL money. You in? And y'all can make it a friendly competition to see who can save more. It's always better when you have a partner, right? But the important part is to start, guys. Start building those habits while the stakes are relatively low. So you'll become a pro at this thing when the stakes get higher. Protect your money like you protect the ball on game day. Don't fumble the bag. Don't fumble the bag, man. Every time you get paid, remember, it's not just about this moment. It's about the next 5, 10, 30 years from now. If you want to have the life that few have, you have to be willing to do what few do. What does that mean, Tycoon? That means discipline. That means sacrifice. That means vision. And if you've got all of those things in you, you're going to be all right. And here's the thing, I know you do, because you're an athlete. You know what hard work and dedication are. So I need you to channel that same energy that you use on the court or on the field and put that into your finances. And I promise you, your future self will thank you 1,000 times over. You're going to look back and say, man, I'm glad I made those smart moves when I was younger. Don't just be a highlight now. Set yourself up to be a legend later. In life, not just in sports. So look, I want to thank y'all for hanging out with me and getting real about your money. I'm your man, Tony Hills, a.k.a. Tony the Tycoon. It's been a pleasure being your coach in this financial huddle. And I want you guys to remember that turning payouts into portfolios, which is the name of this segment, it's just not a one-time play. It's a lifestyle. I need you to stay strategic, stay hungry, and keep the energy high in everything you do. You have a gift, guys, and an opportunity. I need you to maximize it. Maximize it on the field and maximize it in your bank account. And if you follow through on these steps, you won't just have memories from the college days, okay? You're going to have money that lasts far beyond them. And if you're ready to run these plays, run them in real life. I need you to go to statfs.com and book a complimentary wealth call. And what we'll do is we'll build your customer-driven financial plan. That's what we're going to do. And I also want you to go to statebooks.com/belief. You're going to need this playbook to think bigger and to move wiser and to lock in that legacy. Everybody might be running, but now you know where you're running to. You've got a destination, financial freedom. So keep running hard with purpose and with the plan. Until next time, keep making those smart money moves. Chase the greatness in every area of your life. Go turn those payouts into portfolios and show everyone what a true champion looks like on and off the field. I need y'all to run well, young lions. Tony the Tycoon, I'm out.